Hi, today you're going to learn how to change your identity for greater financial freedom, for better health, for more fulfilling relationships. But first, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Uriel Mesa, and I'm with Uriel Mesa at ktslifecoaching.com. And I wanted to talk a little bit about also how I was able to change who I was from a long time ago, we're talking high school days, to the man that I became later on. And also, I am forever changing, which is what we need to do. We need to continuously grow because if you're not growing, you're deteriorating. So we always want to be moving forward. So, real quick, about 100 years ago, when I was in high school, 17-year-old skinny kid, and the kid that I was back then was an unbelievably shy kid who had so much trouble even talking to kids my own age. I was famous for always turning beet red as soon as people started talking to me because I could feel my chest beating out of my my heart beating out of my chest. I was a very awkward kid, and I was very aware of that. And I think the reason for that is because I was so shy. What I wanted more than anything was to be one of the cool kids, the popular kid. But I felt as though like no amount of athleticism, maybe being intelligent, or maybe I don't know, being one of the band geeks or whatever, none of that was going to work. The only thing that I noticed was they just seemed to have sort of this sort of an aura, I called it back then. I didn't know what it was. From my junior year to senior year, that summer, I did something really strange. I started to act as if. Now, keep in mind, I was literally just goofing around, just playing. How would someone who is a popular kid, who is very confident, that everybody wants to be around them, how do they act? How do they be? What do they look at? Where do their eyes go? What are some of the things that that interest them? All these questions I was asking myself. And then I started to model after them. A lot of these kids that I went to school with had certain personality traits that I was trying to model after. But the biggest thing is what does it feel like? What does it feel like to be the person that I want to become? So I started to basically pretend. And the more I practiced this, pretending, the more it became my reality. So keep in mind, 17 years old, I don't think I have read self-help back then, but it was nothing even close to the stuff that I'm doing now. Because what my specialty is identity coaching. Who do you have to become in order for you to get to where you want to be? That would have went right over my head. But that was exactly what I was doing. I embodied, I modeled after, I acted as if, I became. From my junior year to my senior year, I was not the same person. I remember going to class and I would lock eyes with some of the more popular kids, if you will. And I realized that I was being noticed. I had no idea how or why, but I started to notice that. After a few months, I got invited to some parties and stuff. And I remember one kid, his name was Todd. And Todd had asked me where or what school that I was transferred from. And I told him, I have had you in every single class, at least one class, every single semester since we were in the 7th grade. I sat next to him on a few classes. I sat behind him. We even had gym class together. He doesn't remember me at all. What I realized is that I literally had become somebody different, that I probably started to look a little bit different. God knows I did carry myself a lot different. So it's no wonder he did not recognize the old me. What's interesting is I vaguely recognize the old me. I remember the things that my teachers told me, how they worried about me because I was so shy. And they worried about what was going to happen to me because they would say, you're such a nice kid, but you don't talk, you don't say anything, you're always looking down. I could not go back to that old way of being if my life depended on it. I don't know how anymore. I have created such a strong, powerful paradigm of a new way of thinking and being. Now, keep in mind that these paradigms are forever evolving. We are always moving forward, always expanding. If you're not moving forward, if you're not growing, if you're not expanding, you are deteriorating. Can't say the word. So you always want to move forward. Be open to new things. Now, how does this stuff benefit you in your wealth, health, and your relationships? It can help you in creating new paradigms, new habitual ways of thinking and being when it comes to specific things. So, for example, if your paradigm around wealth, that you're always making money, money comes to you easily and frequently, you don't focus on this, but you know that you never lose money. Don't focus on that. Only focus on the things that you want. So making more of it and multiplying it and making it work for you and doing great things with it. That's your focus. You'll get more of that. Same thing when it comes to your health. I happen to be a bit of a, I don't want to say health freak, but I do have a high standard for my health. I'm very aware of what I put into my body. I'm very aware whether it's good or bad for me. I am probably good about 90% of the time. And I know the stuff that I am putting into my body, how it's going to make me feel. And even when I do cheat here and there, I am very aware of how not so good I'll feel. But for the most part, I have a high standard for myself, and I've created that through a paradigm, a new way of thinking and feeling and being when it comes to health. And the same thing could be done with your relationships. A quick background story about relationships is I can recall how the relationship I was in several years ago, it was fine. I felt that that's how relationships are. They're just supposed to be fine. Nothing extraordinary, nothing great. It's just, it is what it is. Two people sharing a life, getting along. That's it. Little passion, very little passion. But we're just kind of going through the motions. Then I met a friend of mine, who is now a friend of mine. Back then, I was just meeting him for the first time, who had an extraordinary relationship. And him and his partner had the type of relationship that would make most people jealous. They made each other laugh. There was so much respect between the two. They were doing things together. They had huge, audacious goals. They built each other up. They never cut each other down. There was so much respect between the two. most of that was the opposite of what I had. And then I realized that the person I was with is the wrong person. So we either had to change our paradigms, change our, or raise our standards for our relationship, or we needed to end it. And we ended up ending it. And that was probably the best thing we could have done, because we've remained friends since then. So again, you can change your identity by changing how you see yourself, how you view yourself, and adopting some personality traits that you admire from others who are doing the things or have the things that you want, that you desire. Let go of your fears of being judged, of your fears of failure, fears that this may not work out. Hang on to your target, your ultimate goal. None of this happens quickly. It will happen once you are aligned. So you can't say that this will take 2 weeks or 2 years or 4 years or whatever. It might take a long time. But once you get aligned with your goal, with the thing that you want, it will manifest. So if this is something that you think that I can help you with, please get a hold of me at Uriel, Uriel, at ktslifecoaching.com. And we can set up a discovery session and we can see where you're at and where you want to go. I have been able to help out a lot of people with this, and this is my gift that I can share with the world. All right, enough of that. Again, my name is Uriel Mesa and I'm with ktslifecoaching.com. And as always, it is a pleasure. Thank you.